Namaste. Hi, welcome to the Shaman and the Mermaid, and this is your astrological weather report for April 11th through April 26th. And it kicks off with the Aries new moon. Sun and moon are in Aries, and all the way through the Scorpio full moon on the 26th. And there is a lot of energy happening around Taurus in the sign of the Bull this report, and that will inform our mantra. Let's talk a little bit about what we're getting into.
Because of that, lots of bull this time, we've decided to use that old adage, when you mess with the bull, you get the horns. And we'll break that down why we think that's pertinent for this time, this whole 2-week period that we're going to unpack. And like Michael said, there's a lot of action going on. It's high activity, which is not unusual for any kind of Aries anything, and this Aries new moon is no exception. So we'll kick off on Sunday, April 11th, the new moon, and it's Sun and Moon Conjunct Eris, which is a little lesser known dwarf planet that we don't always refer to. It's newer in our awareness as a species. It's come into what we've recently discovered it. So we don't talk about it as much, but she is the goddess of discord, of chaos, of disharmony, and she represents forgetfulness, and she can bring a lot of mayhem into the situation. And so the sun and the moon and Eris are all right together on that new moon day. And so that could be a little provocative right there in and of itself. New moons always represent that new beginning, a new seed, a new start, and this is the first new moon of our spring season. So this is a beginning start for spring, if you will. And we don't want that Eris influence to dominate. So that mantra of don't mess with the bull, you'll get the horns, even though this is Aries, the ram has horns too, remember. That don't mess with the bull, don't mess with the bull, you might get the horns mantra that we're selecting is like, don't go in and push and prod and poke that Eris energy. And there's always, positive vibration to every planet, every house, every energy when we talk astrology. So when I rattled off all the energies of Eris, the mayhem, the discord, the chaos, sometimes we do need a little kind of shake up. Like if you make your smoothie in the morning, if you don't have a blender, you put it in one of those little closed lids with the ball in it, and you shake it up and you get it going. And that's a lot like what Eris does too. It gets everything blended, brings it to emulsification a little bit. So there is an upshot to it, but generally speaking, we want that bull to let us sleep, or the other adage, let a sleeping dog lie. That would be good at this time. Sun and moon are right there next to her at that new beginning time, and so set an intention for this spring energy, and maybe it's to walk delicately, to practice mindfulness, to walk gently on the earth with your footing and be mindful where you step, and to be a little more present and have consciousness around the words that you use, the actions you are taking, so as not to disturb that kind of potential fireball in Eris that could come to fruition. And that's going to be a theme repeated throughout as we unpack. So that's April 11th. Then we move into our next aspect, and you want to speak to that one.
On Wednesday, April 14th, Venus moves into the sign of Taurus. This begins that bull energy. And Venus is the energy of how we express love, self-worth. Venus also gets into the areas further out of finance, home, financial markets. The energy of the bull is right at Wall Street. And Venus also has to do with things that are earthbound, like how we use our food, how we use our resources, how we use our water, and all those types of things are governed by Venus. And she's at home in the sign of Taurus, so she's returning to her home sign. And Taurus has a lot to do with the body and earth and soil and how grounded we are and how stable and constant we are. And so Venus is kind of doing a check-in. She's like, how are things doing here on planet Earth? Are we doing all right? Have we been treating Mother Earth well? How are your bodies? Are you feeling healthy? How's your financial systems? How are you doing with your food and your medicines? And this is a big check-in. Part of why we're giving the, when you mess with the bull, you get the horns, is because the planet Uranus is hanging out in Taurus for 7 years. And it's been in there for about 2 now and has another 5-year journey through. And Uranus is the Great Awakener, the force of evolution from the soul to the ego. And Uranus doesn't care how that's done. It's either done by revelation, like you read a book and wow, my mind's blown, a whole new perspective. I see the world in a different way. Or by trauma, lightning bolt, shock, something happens and you can't go forward the old way and a new revelation is presented. Most of us probably prefer the revelation course, but Uranus's job is to deliver the awakening no matter which way, and what tilts it one way or the other is how much the ego self is resisting what needs to be revealed.
And so with Uranus in Taurus, and now as we said, Venus is moving into Taurus, that's 2 big, powerful energies in the earth sign of the bull. One is that love and values and finance and home and earth herself, and then Uranus, the Great Awakener, in the earth sign. And it's not surprising that during this report, we will uncover that it's Earth Day on April 22nd, but we'll get to that in a minute. So that is Wednesday, April 14th. Venus goes home. The car parks in the garage. She's in the sign of Taurus, and she's very comfortable there. And as Michael alluded to, this is a time to really tune into, what does my body need? Am I taking care of my body? Do I feel healthy? What do I need to do to invigorate? And same, we take a good focus on our own beautiful earth, our home planet, and see what we need to be doing there. We need to be doing that all the time, of course, but there's an extra influence on it at this time. So then we move along to April 16th, and the sun is going to square. Remember, that's a challenge or a real dynamic energy. The sun is going to square Pluto. And then also on that same day, Mars will trine Jupiter. What do you think of those? I'm always scared of squares.
Sun square Pluto, this is called a first quarter square. So we go back to when the sun met Pluto and conjoined, and that would have been back in December, late December, early January. And that started a whole cycle that's a year. And when the sun gets to a square from that cycle, it's like things come to a tense release or bringing things to the surface. And Pluto is what the soul is feeling and what needs to be revealed from the underworld and what needs to be destroyed and transformed. It's kind of like Shiva, not kind of, it is Shiva energy, and the sun is illuminating it. So the force of evolution and destruction and creation is being illuminated by our sun in Taurus. And these are both strong energies coming at each other. So it's kind of like, yeah, you just grab the horns of the bull.
So then watch out, because you got to hold on or get out of the way. And it's an awakened bull is nothing to mess with for sure. But Mars is trining Jupiter on that same day. And trines, if you remember from previous lessons here, trines are harmonious energies that they're working together. So Mars, the warrior, the initiator, the aggressor, is having a boost or a shine from the great guru, the teacher, the wise one, Jupiter. So the warrior energy to ride that bull for 8 seconds, if you will, is kind of helping us at that time. So if we get into some kind of, big energy where we might feel like we're riding or messing with that bull and we've got it by the horns a little bit, we'll have that booster shot with Mars, Jupiter, Trine. But on the other side of it too, it's maybe that Mars and trining Jupiter is really telling us, like, go over to the other side of the corral, stay away from the bull. That's the wisdom piece. And sometimes a warrior needs to know when they need to retreat, and that might be a little bit of that energy as well. Then we cruise on. April 17th, we have Mercury square Pluto. So we already have had Sun square Pluto the day before, and they're running neck and neck, Sun and Mercury. So now Mercury squares Pluto, and what do you think of that?
Well, I always have a connection with Mercury and Pluto in that Pluto represents the underworld, the soul, things to be revealed, things that need to be transformed, and Mercury represents the energy that can go into the underworld and come out at free will. And so this is a dive into what's going on in the shadow worlds. This can be for you individually, like seeing what you're working with your shadow, with your dark side, with your undeveloped potential, could be the positive way to put it. And Mercury is the mental stuff, the mind, the communicator, having a look at that. When we have a square, it also is engaging. That could be a nice way to put it, where the energies are locked in, where they need to take a look at each other. Engaging can create transformation when we're willing to approach it with a new eye, a new innovative way, or a surrendering way. But so this is the mind meeting the shadow side or the undeveloped side and really needing to take a look at it.
But it's not always engaging. Sometimes it can be so challenging. Again, it can be like disharmony and discord. So just aware that your mind, your mental chatter that goes on in your head is going to be, going up against some of that unconscious or subconscious or shadow work energy, and it might feel a little bit like migraine headache. It might feel a little bit like, I don't want to deal with this, and tuning out and turning off, and feel like you just awaken the bull a little bit. And be aware, especially Mercury is the communicator, and if our mouth is running, we could come into some big conflict there on a soulful level. April 17th has potential for charge.
And Mercury is in the sign of Aries, which is the self, and Pluto is in the sign of Capricorn, which is the systems and the collective of the patriarchy. So it's the self meeting up with the patriarchy.
I just think keep that day on radar. And then we move on to April 18th, Sunday, and this is the Sun conjunct Mercury. And I've always had a nice vibe about these two together, and they go back and forth with each other like this. They're all running neck and neck because Mercury's on that inside track, so it's going to be close around the Sun all the time. But here they are again, conjunct, Sun in Aries, Mercury in Aries, and what do you feel about that one?
I always like Sun and Mercury together. It's the heart and the passion shining on the creative mind self, the networking self, and the investigative self. And it's in the sign of Aries, all about the self. So this is like a day to let your love light shine on yourself, take a little action, do things that you are passionately engaged with, let your mind explore and be creative, do some networking and connecting things together, or taking action towards things that you want to manifest. Aries energy, which they're both in, is about manifesting, putting things out in the world and putting it into action.
But then the shadow side, which I always want to bring out, like be aware that they are together, and the Sun is the outward expression of yourself, and Mercury is how you communicate. This has a little bit of potential, especially in the sign of Aries, for that kind of arrogance to come through, like bravado and I'm all that. So, keep in check, because that kind of energy can make the bull, awaken and become a little obstinate when they feel challenged with somebody's arrogance. So keep that kind of in check a little bit. Now the next day, April 19th, which is Monday, some big movements. We have Mercury moving into Taurus, And we have the sun moving into Taurus. We said they're kind of running neck and neck all the time. And then it's a Leo half moon. What do you feel about everybody moving into Taurus there?
Well, we have Uranus, who's been there for 2 years. Venus went in 5 days earlier. We have Mercury, we have the sun. So we have at least 4 major players hanging out in Taurus. So Taurus, what does that mean? Taurus energy is being activated for the entire planet and for you individually. There's a lot of focus on Taurus. And Taurus is the body again. It's health, it's food, it's medicines, it's systems that have to do with money and finance. And what's in there? Sun is your personal self and your persona, your heart. The Venus portion is self-love and the things that you hold for value. And that can be mental value, emotional value, spiritual value. Mercury is your mind and communication. And then Uranus is the force of awakening, transformation, and stepping into the higher self. All of these are being vibrated to say, are these in alignment with Mother Earth, with that Taurus Earth energy? Are they in alignment with the principles of nature? Are they in alignment with what your body is intuitively telling you?
I feel like are your words, your actions, and your thoughts in alignment with Earth? Are you being an Earth baby? You're a child of her. Are you taking care of her? Is she in the forefront of your mind? Is it a big deal to you to make sure that she's in right way and being healed and healthy? Because she's dying, she's sick, and we need to use this particular energy movement right now to really awaken the collective and thrust forward in that. Otherwise, we're going to get the bull's horns. Earth, the bull is Earth in this representation. The bull is Taurus energy, which is the Earth sign, the very first Earth sign. And it's saying, if you don't take care of me, I am going to have to give you the horns. And it's like, maybe you don't think of a good Mother Earth being, we think of Earth as unconditional love and all the things like that, but this is kind of at dire straits now. And it's not to punish us, it's for survival that she has to churn and awaken, and she has Uncle Uranus in her house to help deliver that churning and that awakening that we all need. So just bear in mind that that lightning bolt could come, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. Then Leo half moon at that time, and so halfway through the report, there's always the half moon because we start at the new to the full or the full to the noon, and that Leo half moons are that balanced energy, and a Leo is the showman and the charismatic and the playful childlike energy, and it's in balance. And so on this time when everything is moving into Taurus, it's like another indicator: get balanced with all this energy, get balanced with that innocent childlike behavior. I'm hoping that's the way we look at it. The flip side of it could be that we become arrogant, because Leo has that potential to be over showy, to be over exaggerated in itself, to steal the stage. And so we want to make sure that we don't go too far with that. We use that half moon balance to keep us in check, and just really take a look at how can we heal our earth, how can we heal our bodies, how can we heal our relationships with each other. These are the things that we value. That's Taurus is about values. So we want to have that in check. Then we move on. April 22nd, as I already mentioned, is Earth Day. Yay, go plant a tree, play in the soil, be an activist in any way you can to support the needs that we have as a humanity, as all the animals, all the flora, all the fauna. We need our earth to be healed. So it's a day to get radical about that. And also on this day is Venus and Uranus conjunct. Oh, that is so ironic, or is it? That Venus, home in Taurus, about love and values, is conjunct the Great Awakener in the sign of Taurus, the first Earth sign on Earth Day. What do you think of that?
Wow. I think this is a heralding of energies that are going to be reverberating through June. I'll explain why in just a second. But Venus coming to Uranus, Venus is how you love things, and Uranus is the awakening force, and they're coming together and seeking to tune you into the body and Mother Earth. Simple way to put it, as Katrina's putting it, is, what is your body telling you? Your body is the universe. It is Mother Nature. It never lies to you if you tune into its pure essence of intuition, and nor does Mother Nature. But it may be sending you messages that something isn't right, something doesn't align, something isn't in the way of the natural evolution or the natural force, and that listen to your bodies, listen to the earth, tune in. Send as much love you can to your own body and Mother Earth, because Uranus's job is, if you ignore those intuitive signals, Uranus will make sure that signal gets louder and louder and louder until it's undeniable, and the loudest version is a lightning bolt with some traumatic consequences.
It's like messing with the bull, for sure, on that one. So Earth Day, love the earth, love yourself, take care of your body, and be aware that there are consequences when we provoke the bull. No bull S on that. Then we move on, April 23rd. Mars is going to move into the sign of Cancer, and Mercury is going to then, just like Venus was next to Uranus, Mercury goes right in next to Uranus too. So how does that look?
Well, I'll start with the Mercury and Uranus piece. Mercury is going to reactivate that same point that Venus was at, and Mercury is the antenna up. Did you get the message? Did you get the communication? Are you listening to what's being transmitted to you? And Uranus, that force of awakening, can send very subtle, and if you're tuning in, you get the subtle message, revelation, subtle shift, move with the change, no drama, no trauma. Not getting the message and ignoring it for a while, it says, I'm going to feed you a lightning bolt right down those antennae.
And then Mars into Cancer. So Mars is the fiery initiate and the, warrior type, as we've said so many times before. Moving into the soft, watery sign of emotional, inward feeling, introspective, good is what I say to that. Good, good, good. To just let some of that fire take a bath. I like Mars in Cancer a lot because fire and water is steamy. It's like vapors. We get a little steam clean in our brain when we soak in those vapors through the nose and the eyes. And so just, let that energy kind of calm and purify and relax some of our, hot-headed, bull-headed energy that can be, fired up right now as we come into this pretty, it's not a fire season, it's an earth season as we move into Taurus, but that bull makes it feel like we're charged, that we're almost on fire. When a bull sees red, it's just crazy angry. So we want to make sure that we keep ourselves in that calmer energy. So I'm happy to see Mars moving into the sign of Cancer, but then I'd be remiss if I didn't point out some of the negative signs of that, where it's very easy for that warrior, when it gets doused in the water, to get kind of like Wanner baby, like victim martyr, like me, me, me. So don't let your powerful, beautiful, assertive self, just because it's soaking in the hot bath, doesn't mean that it has to feel like it's less than. Just think of it as a timeout. In fact, this would be a great time to go find some hot springs right now.
I hope.
And then we move on to April 24th. Saturday, Venus will square Saturn. Again, squares just always give me a little like, okay, get ready, be prepared. What's this mean? So Venus is in Taurus, her home sign, so she's empowered. She feels extra special because she's home and she's on her turf, and it's all about values and self-love and home, and she's squaring with Saturn in Aquarius, which is about the rules of the future and technology and all the things like that. So that could be a little bit, I mean, those are like opposite things, like, you know, how does this, and so there could be dissonance, disconnect around how we see ourselves in our body and how we think outside of ourselves and what the rules are about that. What do you have on Venus squaring Saturn?
Well, I'll speak to it with Saturn and Uranus. So Venus just conjuncted Uranus 2 days before, and then she went on to square Saturn on this 24th. Well, June 14th, Saturn and Uranus are going to square each other at the exact same position. And this is the biggest energy of the year, Saturn squaring Uranus, and it's happening 3 times. It happened in February, it'll happen in June, it'll happen in December. And Saturn squaring Uranus has to do with the old patriarchal established ways squaring against the changes, the new things, technology, evolution. And the square is not saying whether one's right or wrong. It says these two have to integrate, or it's going to continue to create strong disharmony, civil war amongst your internal self and external self. And what is the lesson for Saturn? Well, Saturn, the old way, needs to learn how to evolve and come into the new perspectives, the new genius, the new harmonization of the earth. And Uranus in Taurus has to learn how to integrate old ancient wisdom with Mother Earth and being aligned with the ancient wisdom ways. And right now they seem very contrary to each other. And so Uranus square Saturn is activating that point that's in the field.
And so I think what you're saying is because Venus was just with Uranus and now is going to square Saturn, it's bringing us a preparatory feel for this, that we can start by what do we value? What's important to us futuristically? You know, that this is the square. Sometimes squares are like those difficult conversations that you really don't want to have, but they're necessary. It might be like, I need a raise to the boss, or you got to have that conversation with your kids who are vaping, or you've got to, you know, just uncomfortable but necessary. And so this is Venus and your Venus and Saturn squaring right now. And so bring to the table some of the uncomfortable things as a preparatory for that June bigger square between Uranus and Saturn, because Venus has a softer touch to it. She's bringing in that loving energy to help soften it, but they're going to be similar in discussion. So, you know, it's the preliminary discussion, if you will. And then we move on the very next day, April 25th, Mercury is going to square Saturn. So this is similar. Mercury in the sign of Taurus now, and squaring Saturn also in the sign of Aquarius still. And this is your communicator. This is how you express yourself about laws, about rules, and about justice, about what's fair and right, about human rights, about individual rights. And this could get a little sticky. And so just be aware that you're in a square. You're having that difficult conversation. Saturn just got buttered up the day before by Venus, was that same kind of square, but she brought in some of the loving energy that Venus has. So Mercury can then, you know, slide in a little bit and maybe lessen the provocation to the bull to get its, you know, anger or ire up. So lots of squares, and be aware of that when we in the month, coming to that closing section of the month. And then the very next day, which we'll leave off for our report this time, is the Scorpio full moon. Yeah, right? We started on an Aries new moon, which is no joke, and then we're going to end on a Scorpio full moon, which has a lot of potential for so much emotional energy. We'll just leave it at that. And then I guess we could give a hint that retrograde season and eclipse season will be starting soon. That's coming down. Remember, mess with the bull and you're gonna get the horns. So maybe like be like Ferdinand the bull and smell the flowers and walk gently on the earth. And please celebrate Earth Day, April 22nd, and give our mama some love. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Namaste.